Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Play It Forward and happy Good Friday. My name is Allison, and I'm here with Chloe, Aisha, Ishrat, and Lady Ann. You are listening to WSB.FM 90.1 and 107.3 FM. Welcome, everyone. Hey, how's it going?
It's going good. We had spring break that got over a couple of weeks ago, and back into college, back in action, midterms, and classes.
Yeah, and we're coming into May, which means the end of the semester.
Yeah, that came up fast.
Congratulations to people who are graduating.
Yes,
yay! You guys are done with it. It's over.
Forever Seawolves. Oh wow! So I'm here with my wonderful focus group for the show. Every 2 weeks, we will discuss the fentanyl opioid crisis that is plaguing our nation. Overdose is the leading cause of death of people under 50, and the U.S. government has seized enough fentanyl this year to give every American a lethal dose. So, today we have a theme going on. Aisha, would you do the honors?
Yes. Today our theme is going to be numbers and news. The latest startling numbers and headlines regarding the fentanyl crisis.
Yes, and unfortunately, there is a lot of news happening, and it's not good. But as a group, we all really feel it's super important that everyone has this information, and it's kind of surprising. We even just before the show, we were talking how many people really don't know about this. So here are a couple of statistics, or some news headlines. From June 2020 through May 2021, there were over 100,000 overdose deaths, 2/3 from fentanyl and synthetic opioids, up 30% from the year before. So to put in better perspective, it is more people than can fill the Rose Bowl in California. You know, just imagine a big stadium. That's how many people that is. Just last week in Orange County, they made a bust and found enough fentanyl to kill 4.7 million people. So this is unbelievable.
It really is. It's a scary number. Well, to catch up with that, actually, so I found out recently that overdose deaths in United States cost an estimate of about $1 trillion, and that's annually, $1 trillion annually.
Wow.
And this has been a shocking rise from the alarming estimate of about $700 billion that was back in 2018. So if you think about it, within like 3 or 4 years, there has been a $300 billion rise. And actually, what's shocking about this is, let me tell you guys about something. So the UN's goal to eradicate world hunger is by 2030. And that's like, 8 years away? And the estimate for that is $330 billion. So if you think about it, $330 billion can eradicate global hunger. And that's the rise. That's just the rise from 2018 in the amount spent on overdose deaths. And that too just in this country, not even global.
Not even globally.
Yeah.
Wow. When you compare that to world hunger, it's just incomprehensible.
Yeah.
I really hope a lot more people are paying attention to these unfortunate large numbers. Here's another headline that shocked the nation, and we talk about this a lot, and I hate to say this, but it wasn't shocking to us because we know that there are no stereotypes. No longer, actually, right? So, but 6 West Point cadets overdosed on spring break. And spring break is it's a normal thing, right? It's supposed to be a fun time for a college student. And these 6 West Point cadets went to spring break in Florida, and they OD'd due to fentanyl poisoning from cocaine. And unbelievably, 2 of the people administering CPR who didn't take it actually overdosed themselves because they were administering CPR. That's how strong fentanyl is. But they did make an arrest, thank goodness. But, fentanyl is a horrible, horrible problem. And a big part of it is as a result of the border. And although it's a very sensitive subject, but at the same time, this is a reality. The fentanyl is crossing the border, and it's going unnoticed. And why don't we discuss some of the more headlines that are happening?
Yeah, I think as you were saying, like with the border crisis, it's just the crisis there. It's so hectic there that people are just passing through, taking advantage of the vulnerability of that area, and passing along such a dangerous drug as fentanyl into our nation. It's, as you said, a really sensitive topic, and it takes a lot of effort from so many departments, so many people to solve this problem in any capacity. But yeah, you think recently there was the DEA official who was showing like half a salt shaker of fentanyl and just saying like hundreds of people could be killed with just that small amount. And you know, when you think of like how many people are crossing fentanyl on our borders, like how many more people will have to die because of this, and it's insane to think about. It
actually is. And that statistic, what you said, thanks for bringing that up about the half full table salt shaker, that can kill 15,000 people. Most people have that on their table or in their cabinet, and if you can envision that, that's unbelievable. There's also, I don't want to say a new term, but a term that's you're going to hear more about it in the news, mass overdose events. At least 7 mass incidences of fentanyl overdoses has happened nationwide since January. A mass overdose incident occurs when 3 or more people overdose at the same place and time. And I think the reason we're seeing this as something in masses is because of the fentanyl that's being distributed and how it's being distributed. And because it's so deadly, people, all it takes is that one time, that one pill.
Yeah,
and
that's what makes it scarier. Like, you never know, and you can never predict it. And then also, it's like, it's so dangerous. It's not like you can do something every single time. You have to be so fast acting about it.
Yeah.
And also, even if you do, you need to know your stuff as well. It's a very grave situation.
They're actually starting to call it a weapon of mass destruction.
I hope they do, because when you think of it in that sense, a mass poisoning, that, how different is that, right? I mean, so they talk about chemical attacks. This is a chemical attack.
Exactly.
And I think if the public, our administration, I think if everybody, our society looked at it in that way, maybe people will start paying attention more. Maybe people will start caring more. The saddest part is, like you said, people don't know.
Exactly.
And
yes, that's very true.
Or they think it won't happen to them. They think like, oh, like I trust the people around me, but really you never know. With the way it's like been seeping its way through to everywhere, like there's really no guarantee that if you go get drugs from someone that it's going to be clean, and that's just it. It makes it so much more dangerous. Like, you even have a lot of high-profile celebrities that we've heard recently that have died from having their drugs laced with fentanyl, and it's like, what guarantee can, quote-unquote, average person have if celebrities also can't have that safety,
Exactly, that's so true.
That's a good point.
Test strips. There are fentanyl test strips, which can be very helpful, and they can help prevent people from dying of an overdose. You can test your drugs. There's also a place in Chicago, I think it's called the Chicago Recovery Alliance, I'm not positive, where you can test any substance to basically see what is in it. You can actually mail the substance to them. Yeah, I was in a harm reduction seminar and they were discussing that. But problems with the pandemic have escalated overdoses due to people losing their jobs, disruptions in drug supply. Drugs get imported from different countries, overseas, and there's been disruptions in the supply chain of things like heroin and cocaine and things like that. And increase that, also taking into consideration losses. People have lost loved ones. People have lost their jobs. There was all that insecurity about, am I going to lose my home because I lost my job and people were having problems getting unemployment? How am I going to feed my family? And people didn't know what to do. And I remember hearing from one person who lost their child, and she had intentionally overdosed on fentanyl, hoping to die to join her child.
Oh boy, Chloe, you bring up fentanyl strips, and I really want to mention something. I think a lot of people, this is my opinion right now, but I think a lot of people have trouble discussing this because it almost sounds like you're making it okay. And I don't think that's true. I think it's just a reality. People are going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, if it saves lives, then why not? And it creates more awareness, but it's certainly not making it okay.
I feel like at the end of the day, there is always that main issue of it being addiction being just stigmatized. At the end of the day, every single discussion always comes up to that more and more people need to know and accept it as a disease and treat it like that. Give resources, give mental health resources, and it's not just like temporary. It takes a lot of effort. It's life-threatening. It's devastating, and it needs to be realized and accepted
as a disease.
Yes, I guess, and that's very important.
Very important.
And just like every disease, there's no like one cure. There's no one treatment. So I think we have to tackle drug addiction the same way. You have to try multiple alternatives, multiple forms of harm reduction if we ever want to actually do something about it.
Right. People don't choose this. And, some compassion goes a really long way. Yeah. You wanted to say something, Aisha?
I just wanted to say, just like a disease, people need compassion and they need understanding and I feel like support, yes. All these resources. I feel like it's so hard for somebody to come out and say they have an addiction because like then everybody just looks at them and their opinion of them like completely changes. There's
like a lack of will or a lack of character, or strength, which is really not true. And when you look at these people, they really are suffering. They didn't choose this. And so I agree with all of you that if we treat this like the disease it is, maybe we can really make a difference. Chloe brought up something in the group the other day about there's a change in the people who are using MAT, right? That is alternative methadone,
Suboxone, things like that. Yes.
Is that opioid agonist therapy?
Well, So I mean, things right. Yeah. But then there's things like Vivitrol, which is also considered MAT, but it's a different thing. It's not an opioid agonist. It's Suboxone is a partial agonist, whereas something like what do you call it? Oxycodone is a full agonist. Heroin is a full agonist. So it's a partial agonist. But so recently there was some information saying that the U.S. Department of Justice is warning healthcare and employers and others that they can't discriminate against people who are using MAT to treat their opioid use. And this is under the Americans with Disabilities Act. And this has been a problem because, up until recently people have been discriminated against in terms of housing, in terms of jobs. If you're on methadone, well, you can't get certain jobs, and in some ways you could think that it's justified, right? Like if somebody's doing like something like operating heavy machinery or driving a car, or driving a school bus, you don't want somebody under the influence who can possibly injure them or others. I haven't gotten too much into the details because it wasn't really specific in the article that I read, but
well, it's going in the right direction.
It's going in the right direction because people need to. If people need help, they need help, and there's no shame in getting the help they need.
Not at all.
They should not be penalized for getting help. And so many people are afraid.
Well, people spend a lot of time at work
Yeah.
That's a big part of their life. So,
but even like you think about it, getting treatment. I have talked to so many people where there's this fear of, well, how will I lose my job if I go inpatient? Will I?
Doesn't make sense when you really think about it, right? It's like, why would you discourage somebody from changing their life for the better, or and saving their life?
Saving their life.
Yeah, and like if you think about it, before this was passed, so people could lose their jobs for seeking help. Yeah. And it's like, how do you expect them to get better if now they have no financial resources, Like, it feels like you're pushing them to get worse. Because now they have no job and they can't keep up with bills. You can get their children taken away. Then, like, what incentive do they have to even get better if you're taking away all their resources? I think it's important that, like, we recognize that people who are getting treatment should be protected, Like, they should be, like, encouraged to get help.
Absolutely.
100%.
This is why these conversations we're having right now are so, so important. These are the conversations that should be happening on college campuses, at the dinner table, in elementary schools even. I mean, I'm thinking, why? I mean, all the things they want to teach our elementary school children today, why not this as well? I mean, I think it's our reality. And I really think that we can't bury our heads in the sand any longer, right?
So many people are dying.
And again, these mass overdose deaths, I want to just touch upon briefly before we wrap it up. But the DEA, one of the headlines was "Prepare for Mass Overdose Events." The leading U.S. drug enforcement agency issued an unprecedented warning to law enforcement nationwide to brace for a spike in fentanyl-related mass overdose deaths as Mexican cartels push the drug into the United States. Drug traffickers are driving addiction and increasing their profits by mixing fentanyl with other illicit drugs. Tragically, many overdose victims have no idea what they're ingesting. And again, that's why we need to support and talk about these fentanyl strips that, again, is not encouraging drug use. We're just being realistic. And especially when we speak about young people, there's been an unfortunate, incredible rise in deaths from with young people.
Well, actually, just, a little sidetrack, because it just came into my head right now. We're talking about rising numbers. And I just actually, of how, even how easy it is to gain access to materials and stuff too. I heard something happening on our own very campus. And I looked it up actually. I just looked it up, and actually, you know what I found out? So there was this guy living on campus, a student living on campus, and he was caught. He was arrested by the police with 18 charges against him, ranging from multiple counts of criminal possession of controlled substances on such various degrees too, and also multiple counts of criminal sale of these controlled substances as well.
It's happening in our backyard.
Our very own campus.
Yeah.
Wow.
I thought it was a rumor at first until I actually looked it up and discovered that it was in fact
Yeah,
real.
I was shocked too. I couldn't believe it.
And I think they found that he had fentanyl.
He did have
too,
fentanyl.
And
Yeah.
Imagine how devastating that would be on our campus if kids were being sold these laced drugs, and what could have happened to the kids here. Like, it could have been another West Point case here, or even worse.
Well, thankfully, we are hoping to change that, because we are going to be doing another mass Narcan training for our Sociology 339 class with Dr. Kathy Marone. Woohoo, Dr. Marone.
Go Dr. Marone.
With the help of CASJ, the Community Action for Social Justice. Big shout out to Gina Chinese, who will be doing the presentation with us on the 27th. We will be Narcan training over 250 people that day. So really excited about that, because that is over 250 potential lives that are saved.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone gets 2 in a kit. Unfortunately, I think you need to use more with fentanyl. But this can save lives.
No,
and
it's a step, and it's a massive step.
it is a massive
In the
step.
right direction.
So, on the 27th, we'll be doing that. Our next show is on the 29th. So, when you tune in 2 weeks from now, you'll be with Aisha, Ishrat, Lady Ann, and Chloe again. And we will be discussing how successful our mass Narcan training was. And we'll discuss the presentation that Gina Chinese of CASJ will be given. So we'll be back in 2 weeks. I want to thank everyone who supports this cause and understands how important it is to not only look out for each other, but we emphasize with anyone you know who is dealing with addiction, there is help out there. Here is a helpline number from SAMHSA, National Helpline. It is 1-800-662-HELP. Again, 1-800-662-4357. So again, I'd like to thank everyone for listening. I wish everyone a happy Easter and a happy Passover, happy Ramadan. We'll be back in 2 weeks. And Lady Ann is going to be closing our show out with a special song. Thank you, everyone, very much.
So we'll be closing off today's show with Mac Miller's Come Back to Earth. And you are listening to WUSB FM 90.1 and 107.3 FM.
Thank you so much, Lady Ann. And Mac Miller is an artist who unfortunately lost his battle with addiction. And so pay attention to this song that he wrote. Take care, everyone.
Look just like texts I shouldn't send. And I got neighbors, they're more like strangers. We could be friends. I just need a way out of my head. I'll do anything for a way out of my head. In my own way, this feel like living some alternate reality. And I was drowning, but now I'm swimming through stressful waters to relief. Yeah, all the things I do, spend a little time in hell. What I won't tell you, I'll probably never even tell myself. Don't you know that sunshine don't feel right when you're inside all day? I wish it was nice out, but it looked like rain. Gray skies are drifting, not living forever. They told me it only gets better. My regrets look just like texts I shouldn't send. And I got neighbors, they're more like strangers. We